from the beginning of the Maimer, and because we just learned a few lines. Okay, Likkutei Tzav 32 again, the Maimon Pesach. Okay, this time we started a few lines, we'll just learn the first quickly and we'll continue. It says about Mashiach, he's going to put his hand over the river, and the Chum is going to be divided into 7 channels. Yamsuf is Malchus of Atzilus, which is the level of Dibur. Shadibur, Sefer Chodargan speech, is the end of all levels. Shebedvar Hashem Shemayim Nasu, because creation came from the level of speech. V'chol HaSorim, Ma'imoros and Shochos, Mercy Spheres, Atzilus. All the Hasorim, 10 utterances that Hashem created the world with. Starts from the beginning of Chochem, but it goes through the level of speech. What is speech? Speech, generally, like we were discussing at great length yesterday, speech, when you want to reveal an emotion, you say, I love you, it really is not the level of the real love. It's covering the real love. In the but letters are the vessel for the seichel and midah shem v'shachim, the stop shemay that it comes into. Letters conceal the seichel shebeseichel. Umatzpin and naisebeseichel and hides it in it. Why? So he says like this. This is where we're up to. Sha'akatan af shemavin koleisis fatevis. Because a kid, even though he knows how to speak, he speaks well. You can repeat something, you can read something, you can say it, and you can read it very well, but you don't know what in the world you're talking about.
Like a parrot.
Right. You could just talk and you don't even know. In other words, when you read something or speak something and you really understand it, there's only if you really understood it before. Or you understood a level that can lead you to understand this new level. Even if you learn something new, it's because you know other things from before, which are so to get you to understand it. As I made in then you understand from the seichel, from the letters. He says, but letters themselves, letters themselves really is a concealment from the seichel midah. L'chein l'mayla, therefore, above in the world, therefore, chachma bria yitzir nasir, like we learned, malchus of Atzilus goes into the world of bria. So then, rak min diber elyon v'lei kamei b'moshe, shalei minu chachma mikadim. He says in Cain, Adiba is the Malchus Datzilis, the letters of Malchus Datzilis. Hey Malim Matzpin and Al Chabad Vamidas Datzilis, Amislabshim Bedibur, Shleis Galu Klau Babria. Meaning like this. Therefore, when Hashem created the world, really in the 10 utterances is a revelation of each one of the 10 spheres. The Alter Rebbe mentioned Yehi Or is the Keli for Chochmah. Yeah? But nevertheless, the letters, when somebody reads Yehi Or, yeah, if they didn't learn this, or they didn't learn Chassidus, they wouldn't understand that that's really the level of Chachma, which is revealed in the letters of speech, which reveals the level of light. I think I remember what I said. I could play a replay. In other words, Yehi Or is from the level of Chachma. He's explained before. So therefore, Chachma Vatzilus went through speech, and therefore became Yehi Or, and therefore they're in that Yehi Or, the level of Chachma Vatzilus. Yet when you read Yehi Or, you'd have no understanding that it's the level of Chachma Vatzilus that's being revealed, because letters conceal the thing that it's being revealed.
Right. Enlightenment.
Hadim K. Ki im it's only a very slight revelation. Like and nimshachai similar to the life or the art that comes through the hair. In other words, like this. Your hair grows from the head or from the face, whoever, yeah? So it's living from the head. Yet if you cut the hair, it doesn't hurt.
That's nurtured.
Why? Because God forbid you cut your finger, it's going to hurt. But you're going to cut your hair, it's not going to hurt. Why? It's living because it's such a minute level of light, of power, of the chayis, life from the neshama, that it's not going to hurt. If you pull the hair, it would hurt. But if you cut the hair, it's not going to hurt. So he says that's the level of dibur. Those things that came into the world through speech is really, all those things are being concealed through speech, all the 10 levels of Atzilus.
And that's also what you said last night, Soros. If you're disconnected, you're lucky if you get it.
Yeah.
Because your connection is there.
Because, yes.
That's what
Because
Mashiach has Soros.
You're, wow, you get and the report card I'm going to give you. But yeah, your grandkids have to sign the report card.
Because when you're connected, then you are getting this. If you're not connected, it doesn't matter.
Correct. That's the reason, by the way, why the Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu medakted b'tzadikim b'chut hasayda. Hashem is so particular with tzadikim, they do a slight, tiny little thing, it's massive. And again, the mashal for that is when you're wearing dirty clothes, you're painting your house, and your mom is filthy, and you get a little bit of lint, you don't notice it. But when you get dressed up, you take the suit straight out of the cleaners, a little piece of lint is noticeable. Why? Because the cleaner the garment, the smaller the speck is noticeable. Even a smaller speck is noticeable. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. Big deal. I mean, come on. He first spoke, it was the wrong rock. A whole story, yeah? And look what happened because he hit the rock. We do much worse things and we don't get punished like he did. That's the level of Yam that's called the world of concealment. In other words, the Alter Rebbe explained, Yam is a level of Malchus and Dibur is Malchus. Why is Yam, ocean, the level of Dibur and Malchus? Because speech conceals. When you speak, you're concealing the intellect and the emotions. Yam is a level of concealment. Whatever is in it is hidden. Another reason why Dibur is called concealment, this that comes from the seichel. What type of seichel comes into the speech? Only the external level of seichel. Like we learned yesterday also about a midah. When you speak a midah, it's only the external level. The essence of the seichel is too great to be revealed in speech. So he says, what?
I was just, and then if you are closer, he's going to hit you harder.
Correct.
Why do you want to get closer?
It's a good question. Let me ask you a question. The more you learn, the more you realize the less you learn.
Yes.
So why bother learning? The more money you make, the more money you want. So don't make money, don't want it.
It's like potato chip. You have one, you want more. Bring you in.
Depends if they won't crack your walls even if it's made from potato chips. The window guy.
Well, you do one this way, one another.
Yeah. Mishti Yeshem Manarates Messiah. Okay. So therefore, this is what Yam Suf is. So the Alter Rebbe is explaining what is the level of Yam B'chal water, is the level of Malchus, because Malchus is concealment and it's Dibur. So now what's the union of Kriyas Yam Suf, that the sea split? When you Kriyas Yam Suf Hainu, Shem Iskasya Nasis Galya, from the hidden worlds, it became the revealed worlds. Hainu Shlo Yas the Dibur Elyon. What does Kriyas Yam Suf imply spiritually? That speech, Yam, doesn't cover anymore. That means speech doesn't conceal anymore. Everything is revealed the way it really is. So what happened to Kriyas Yamsuf? Normally Malchus conceals Atzilus from coming in as is to the world of Bria. What's Kriyas Yamsuf? You take away that concealment. That means Atzilus, as Atzilus is now revealed in Bria. No, Malchus is opens. It's not without Malchus. Yeah, it comes without the concealment of Malchus. Without the concealment of Malchus. The Liyesh in Kriyas Yamsuf. The Schab is the Bria Matzilus Mamish Beli Parts of Mosach, a Mafsik. So he says like this. So what he's defining what's Kriyas Yamsuf? Normally between Bria and Atzilus and Bria, there's this concealment. So what happened to Kriyas Yamsuf? It became revealed Atzilus in Bria the way it is in Atzilus. He says, "L'chein nikra yam liyubeis kroim kini hashvatim heim bebria v'sham heim yud gimel b'chinas b'chlal." It says like this. We know Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are the level of Atzilus. Avram is Chesed of Atzilus, Yitzchak Gur of Atzilus. The 12 Shvatim are in the world of Bria. They're not as great as the others, obviously. So therefore, they're only the level of Bria. He says the reason why it divided into Yud Beis channels was because it says in the level of Bria, there's Yud Beis Gvulei Alachson. It means as follows. You have the 6 spheres, but when you draw diagonals from one, like there's 3 and 3, draw the diagonal from 1 to 3 and 1 to 6, 4, whatever, you do all the diagonals, you have 12 Gvulei Alachson, the 12 ends of the diagonal. Anyway, that's in Kabbalah, it says, Chassidus brings it down all over the place. So anyway, so the Shvatim are the level of Bria, and that's why there are 12 Shvatim, because Bria is the level of 12. Moshe Rabbeinu is greater than the Shvatim. The Shiva Rayim, which are the 7 meters of Atzilus, yeah? They're higher than the Shvatim. The Shvatim are the level of Bria.
Not Yosef.
No, Yosef is sometimes born of them, sometimes not above them. Yosef is the level of Yisod, Tzadik Yisod Elam. Okay, so he says, Vein HaMalach and the Briyud Beis Bakav HaYom Alem U'Mayla. It says in Shlomo Melech, when he built the thing, and the whole thing, he built Yud Beis in the Beis HaMikdash. He built, what does it say? Yud Beis Bakar, and the Yam covered them from above. And even though generally speaking, the Malachim are divided into 4 categories. Michal, Gavriel, Rafal, Uriel. Like it says in the Pasuk. Misham, Yipadivoyolai Baroshim, Mikamakam Kol Echad, Mischalik L'Sholish. Every one of the Malachim is divided into, in other words, Malachim in the world of Bria. The Shamas are Atzilus, yeah? Malachim are Bria. Now, there are 4 groups of Malachim, right? Michal, Gavriel, Rafal, and Uriel. Now, each one of those is composed of 3. Just like in the Midbar, you had the 12 tribes, there are 4 Golim, 4 groups, each one composed of 3. Same thing in the Malachim. There's 4 groups of Malachim, each one's composed of 3, because Malachim are Bria, the Shvatim are Bria. And he says, Mishami there's 3 joints in the foot and in the hand. Even though the Shvatim themselves are in the world of Bria, Shoshim Mekadam are the Yud Beis Gvulei Alachs and the Zov Atzilus. Anyway, they originate in Atzilus. Therefore, the connection between Bria and Atzilus is as Chabers Aliyas Yud Beis Shvatim de Bria into the Yud Beis Gvulei Alachs and the Zov Atzilus. In other words, Kriyas Yamsuf is the direct connection between Atzilus and Bria without any tzimtzum. That means Bria is elevated to the level of Atzilus. And that's the level of the Shvatim. The Shvatim is, they originate to the level of Atzilus, so Kriyas Yamsuf makes the Shvatim reveal within them their source of Atzilus. לכן נקרא ים ליובש גזורים, שכל שבט ושבט במסילוסי יכוון. Each tribe went into its own channel, כל אחד לפום שיעור הדילay. In the base of Mikdash, by the way, there was also 12 gates for each shevet individually. And then there was Shar HaKolel, which is the general gate for whoever didn't belong to any, didn't know where they belonged. They gated him, or converts, or if somebody's father was not Jewish, so then, Lepel, you have like this. There's the level of Kriyas Yamsuf, because Alter Rebbe is explaining why by Mashiach is going to be 7 channels, and by Kriyas Yamsuf was 12. Okay, so Alter Rebbe is explaining like this. Yam is Dibur. Dibur conceals. Okay, so between Atzilus and Bria. So what Kriyas Yamsuf accomplished is Atzilus and Bria became one without the curtain, without the Dibur, without any concealment, and therefore Atzilus is revealed in Bria as is, and Bria is elevated in Atzilus as is. That's the level of the 12 partitions by Kriyas Yamsuf, corresponding with the 12 levels of Bria, the 4 levels of the Malachim, each one composed of 3, like the Shotim, which are the level of Bria, yet they originate in Atzilus. So Kriyas Yamsuf is the level of Bria and Atzilus becoming one.
Doesn't Dibur reveal?
What?
Why is it Dibur concealed? Dibur reveals.
Yes, it reveals a limited amount of the Seichel. When you speak Seichel, or you speak a Midah, when you say I love you, that speech limited the amount of love. I'm saying even when you're not lying.
It doesn't reveal the whole thing.
If you lie, you say I love you and you don't mean it, so then of course. I mean, even when you mean it, that limits. Or somebody even does a greater act than speech. They give the person a kiss. Is that all they have for them is revealed in the kiss? No. It's very limited. So yes, from one side it's a revelation.
It's a token.
From one side it's a revelation. Speech, when you reveal an intellectual concept, yes, it's revealing, but it's very limiting. From the other side, it's very limiting. When you say a midah, a feeling, I love you, I hate you, whatever the feeling is, that speech is really limited. Yes, it's revealing it, but if it wouldn't be revealed, limited, it wouldn't be revealed at all. We said 1,000,000 times. By Niagara Falls, there's millions of gallons of water, and you want to take a drink. You can't. You can't take a drink.
Yes.
You want to take a drink, you need a cup. So you stick the cup in there, you get a little bit of water. 1 second. The cup is limiting the water of Niagara Falls. But 1 second, but that's the only way you get anything. Otherwise you get nothing.
Emotions, not intellectual.
Intellectual also. It limits the amount. You're not revealing your whole essence. Eventually, 40 years later, Koyim Inish Hadaita the Rabbi, when the Talmud finally understands what the Rebbe said, like it says in Chumash, in the 40th year, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Jews, now Hashem is allowing you to understand, Ben Aboim Lebina, because it takes, but even when the Rebbe gives the Seichel, it's hidden. But the essence of the Rebbe Seichel is in the speech, but it's hidden.
Can you explain how Kriyas Yamsuf is revelation of Atzilus and Bria?
Because Kriyas Yamsuf means Yam becomes revealed. That means Atzilus, which is normally concealed in Bria, now becomes revealed.
Why do we say Kriyas Yamsuf is revelation of Atzilus in Asiya?
No, because
why is it in Bria?
Because it's not revealed completely in Bria at that time. Eventually it trickles down. But Atzilus and Bria basically are separated by a parsa. Bria is Yesh Mi'ayin. So therefore the level of Atzilus is revealed in Bria also. Eventually it comes down here too.
Why isn't Kriyas Yamsuf revelation of Atzilus into Asiya?
I said eventually it is. But at this time of Kriyas Yamsuf, when it happened, was Bria became connected to Atzilus. And because Bria is connected to Atzilus, and the rest is Ila Va'olul, cause and effect, so the effects Asiya too. What?
The 12 diagonals, is that in the Kabbalah picture, that diagonals?
Depends which Kabbalah you're looking at, the real one or the fake one?
The Sphirot picture.
I don't know Kabbalah pictures.
Which diagonals are you talking about?
It says in Kabbalah, Yud Beis Gvuli Alachson, that the 6 here, he says the 6 fetus, so it depends, Gvuli Alachson every word. You have the 6 fetus, 3 in each column, and then you have a diagonal from, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right?
Yeah.
So now when you want to draw diagonals, you could draw a diagonal from 1 to 6.
Right.
You could draw a diagonal from 1 to 5. You could draw a diagonal from 2 to 5 to 3 to 4. So there's 6 lines you could draw. So each one line has 2 ends. That's good, whatever. This should be our biggest problem. That's the Yud Beis Gvuli Alachson. So the reason why the Shvatim are Yud Beis, because why did Hashem make Yud Beis Shvatim? Why not 13, 14, 15? Because this is connected to the level of Bria, which gets its nourishment from Yud Beis Gvuli Alachson.
But the mother David,
You have to bring the diagram. There should be a diagram.
There is a printed letter from the Rebbe that explains the Magen David al Pi Kabbalah. There's 6 corners to the Magen David. The Rebbe explains it al Pi Kabbalah.
it's the Sephirah, no?
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rabbi, in the previous answer itself, you taught us it's not 12, it's 13.
When? Kriyas Yamsuf.
Didn't you say 13 lines?
No, the Medrash says 12, and then there was an additional line that they don't talk about too much for people that didn't know where they belonged. Like the Erev Rav. They didn't belong to any particular tribe.
So there were 13 lines.
That's why in the Beis HaMikdash there are 12, and then it's called Shara Kailul. The 13th was for any person that didn't know where they belonged. That thing was good for everybody. And that's why the Alter Rebbe's Nusach was called Shara Kailul. In fact, the commentary of the Rebbe's grandfather and the Rebbe's Alter Rebbe's Siddur Shara Kailul, because it says that the Rebbe's Nusach was Shara Kailul, that was good for any person that didn't know particularly which Avodah he belonged to. In other words, translating into simpler English, the people that came from Reuven did the Avodah of Reuven, which is Re'iyah, seeing. Shimon, those guys did the Avodah of Shimon. So that was their Avodah. Yes? Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and so on. Now what happens if you didn't belong to any particular tribe? Or you didn't know where you belonged to? So where do you go? In serving Hashem, where do you go? So there's a 13th level that is good for everybody, meaning it's a general master key. It's the master key that opens all the doors rather than each key opening one of the 12 doors.
When you're on that level, how could you not know where you belong? If you're on a high level, of course you know if you're Reuven or you're...
Rabbi Kiva was a son of a convert. Unclus was a convert. Well, no, but Tshuva belongs to a tribe.
I know.
I'm saying, what tribe did Unclus belong to? When Unclus went into the Beis HaMikdash, which one did he go to? He didn't belong to Reuven, Shimon, or Levi.
Mamzerim were going with their own tribe or also?
Yeah, Mamzerim still belongs to the father's tribe.
What about Erev Rav?
That's what I'm saying. Where did Erev Rav go? They don't belong to any particular Shvat.
You're not supposed to
I don't know.
Erev Rav went home.
We hold them back. We are not supposed to.
Who?
Don't go home.
Okay.
Go back.
The Chal's, okay, so now, again, now the Rebbe is going to begin explaining now why by Kriyas Yamsuf it was 12 Necholim. And here, by Mashiach, there will be 7. So he says, Chal's in Kriyas Yamsuf, which is Dibur Elyon. I know Shlayaylam at Dibur, where he said that the Dibur Neizah shouldn't conceal. But Ba'amnam La Sadlavik Sivahain, if Yadei Ala Nahar, he's going to wave his hand over the Nahar. So now basically the rest of the Maimer is going to go away into explaining why Kriyas Yamsuf was 12 and Mashiach's coming, now it's going to be 7. And the Rebbe explains Kriyas Yamsuf was the preparation of Matan Torah, and Mashiach's splitting of the sea is going to be preparation for the Gilui of Mashiach. So in other words, in order for the Jews to come to the level of Matan Torah, Neich Hashem Elokecha, not only did they need Yetzias Mitzrayim, they needed Kriyas Yamsuf. Without Kriyas Yamsuf, they wouldn't have been able to have the Torah. So Kriyas Yamsuf is a preparation for the Jews to be able to handle Matan Torah. So therefore he says, yeah, and therefore like it says in the last parak of Psachim, it says the sea saw and ran away and the mountains danced. That's Matan Torah. Kine iked in yikima mitzvahs is ayidei zem mamshichim shea gili earnings of lamata b'biyah k'meishem is galib eses spheres datzilis. What is the purpose of Torah mitzvahs? To bring down the level of elokus, which is normally kept reserved only for atzilis, to bring it down into biyah. That's why you make a bachas shekin shana b'mitzvesa. Yes, we reveal more kedusha, meaning normally atzilis and bria are separated. You do a mitzvah, you bring down the kedusha of atzilis into bria. Asher sham'ir v'chayechad iv. Because in Atzilus, the Ord and the Hashem and the Ord is one, Hashem and the Kalim is one. Masha'en can be Yah. Shem Elim is Fradim Bechin Yash V'David Nifr. But Bria Tzirsi and its own is a level of separated from Hashem. V'idei HaMitzvahs, which are Amachi, Vam the Malka, which are the 248 limbs of Hashem, Mamshichim Gilu Yuchad Elyon. Shabbat Atzilus, you reveal the revelation of Atzilus, that it should be revealed also in Biyah. Meaning like this. We say before davening, L'shem yichud kudsha brichu shchintei. Right? So we learned already many times. What does that mean? What are we uniting God and God? Shem yichud kudsha brichu, which is Hashem, or shchintei is divine presence. It is divine presence, not Kodesh Baruch Hu. Okay, so what's the explanation? Kodesh Baruch Hu, it says, it's the 6 spheres of Zohar. Chesed words, Vesnetzchen Yisayid. Shechina, Sheikh Mitachsein rests in the lower levels, it's the level of Malchus. Now, normally, without doing Torah mitzvahs, you have Seichel goes into Midas and this, it goes into this, and it, okay? There's no unities. A male and a female that are not united cannot produce. You can't produce new revelations of children. There has to be a unity between male and female. Male and female themselves can't do it. Kodesh Baruch Hu is Zohar, the 6 spheres is the masculine. Malchus is the feminine. Now, when normally revelations of godliness, there's no yichud between Kodesh Baruch Hu and Zohar. So therefore, it just comes down to regular level, limited, more limited. So therefore, there can't be any revelations of Atzilus and Biyah. What do mitzvahs accomplish? When you do a mitzvah, you're doing a yichud between Kodesh Baruch Hu and Zohar. So there's a unity between the male level spiritually and the female level spiritually that produces children. So therefore, you produce greater levels of lukus in Bria from Atzilus. Who accomplishes that yichud to produce? That's the mitzvah. So that's the purpose of mitzvahs. Normally, Atzilus is not revealed in Biyah, only in a very limited way through a parsa and this and that, Dibur, Yam, and this it reveals it as his offspring.
That's what Shekhinah is brought down.
Huh?
That's what Shekhinah is brought down.
Correct. So what happens when you do a mitzvah? You bring down the level of Atzilus to Biyah.
Sure.